So I thought I'd make a update on this Kubota M5091. I've had it for a few years now. It's got 650 hours or thereabouts, and my thoughts on it are that it's a very good tractor. I'm really pleased with the way it's performed. It's had very few issues. Power-wise, it's more than enough for me and my needs. The fact that it's four-wheel drive, it's a big bonus. It feels like it almost doubles, or at least gives you another 40% more power, especially with the front weights. I haven't taken off the front weights to really know what the difference would feel like. Fuel economy has been pretty good. I would say probably could be better, but it's not bad by any means. I've had a couple of accidents with it. One is this protector here. Sometimes you forget to put it down and it gets squashed a little bit. And the other one is a broken mirror, which I've bought a replacement for, but haven't changed yet. And the biggest concern with this tractor is the DEF. It's the only thing that's made me worry, because I haven't had any problems with it per se, but I have to run it. Runs its regen cycle every 16 hours or so, and sometimes it goes back to zero, sometimes it doesn't go back to zero. So what I usually do is I'll just do the regen either completely stopped in the park position, which clears it up back to zero, or very light work, like if I'm traveling from one field to the other, then that's fine as well. But if I put any kind of pressure on it, it seems to mess it up. Like, it's very hard to do operations with it while it's in its regen cycle, because you're literally shifting backwards and forwards at 2,100 RPM a lot of the times. We're shifting gears, and I'm sure that's not great. I've also noticed people have written that you can just drive the tractor at a faster pace with a smaller gear. It shouldn't affect the fuel consumption. And in my experience, doing what I'm doing, it's using a lot more fuel if I run it at a smaller gear. So much so that if you add it together, you're probably better off to just be running it the way you would prefer, with a higher gear and lower rev count, and saving the money on gas or diesel, whatever, rather than switching it around, putting more wear and strain on all the other parts, and then saving yourself the DEF filter eventually for another maybe 500 hours or 1,000 hours, depending on what the case may be. I'm only at 650 hours, and I was told by the dealer that it should last around 3,000. I doubt that it's gonna last 3,000. I'm hoping to at least not have any problems with it for the first 1,000 hours or so, and then I don't know if I'll do a DEF cleaning or just get another DEF filter. A little bit of the problems that I've had with it is 2 error codes. One was not an issue. It's just something that you might not be aware of. I think it was E25 or E24, and it's basically your PTO. You have an economy drive on the PTO, this little lever here, and if it's not completely engaged, it's going to throw out an error code. You can look it up, see it's okay, and fix it right away. So The only real issue that lasted was an error-code E35, and that had to do with a sensor in the brake pedals wasn't equal, so that started coming out, and if you turn off the tractor, it resets. But I had the dealer come out. They reset it, and then it lasted for about another 5-6 months, and I had the same problem. So then the dealer came out, and surprisingly to me, they replaced one of the sensors, and from then on I haven't had any issues with that error code. So it's got 650 hours. A couple of maintenance things. It's had an oil change the first 50 hours, and then every 300 hours, actually probably every year, I'm changing it. And I don't know what the situation is with other dealers around the world, but the hydraulic filters were replaced, but not the oil from the dealer. And this was done once, this was done twice, and so by a third time I just told, because they give you free services, they give you 3 free services. The third time I thought it'd be a good idea to just replace the oil, and I asked for the filters to do it myself. So in replacing the oil for the hydraulics, I noticed there was quite a bit of debris, little metal shavings. So I think it's a good idea. In the owner's manual, it probably lists that change to go at 900 hours, but definitely when you first get the tractor, just coming out of the factory, there's all sorts of nonsense that might find its way into the casing. So I thought it'd be a good idea to replace it. And it just looks like a mess to replace just the filters, because you're loosening up the filters and there's no way to stop the flow of the oil. I don't know if anybody else does that or not, but you can't even clean the magnets properly while you're changing the filters, because you're rushing to put the thing back on before too much oil flows out. Anyway, as far as the operation, you can see this is sort of the general wear and tear of the tractor. It's amazing that the tractor is as good a quality for, you know, the amount of stuff that they had to put in it. So little things like this rusting out is not an issue. Generally, the top coat of gray paint is, if I said paper thin, I would be generous. It literally wears off without too much effort. And one of my favorite things about the tractor is actually something that I thought may just end up being a gimmick, but let's put it into drive here, put it into first gear, and when we get going, if you want to reduce the gear immediately, you just press this red button and it quickly drops it to a slightly lower gear, which I didn't think would be as useful as it is, but it's probably the thing that I use the most on this tractor. This here, the gray button, is for neutral. So going into neutral, you can shift without the clutch, but it's useless. Like, you press it, you shift, and a day later it takes off, right? So that's not much use. But this downshifting this gear is immediate, and that's why it's just so useful in so many applications, because it takes a lot to shift this gear, probably a second or so, and forget about shifting ranges. So if you shift into another range, you know, you have to be coming to a complete stop. And this little gear I don't know what it's called. It's gear reducer, or it's the best feature on the transmission for sure. And then you have your transmission park. Hardly ever use the actual handbrake that's here. The seat is comfortable. The tractor is not noisy inside the cab, but it is bouncy on the road. So I don't know, when you have different implements, it reacts differently. With this disc in the back, it can create a cycle where it just starts to bounce more and more and more. And it's a real headache to be on the road, especially if the road is not smooth. The AC is just fine. It can handle 30-35 degrees. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but let's say 100-110. The PTO here, you get used to it, but I wish it was a switch rather than something that you turn on and then you slap off, because you don't really have a direct reaction to know whether it's on or off. And yeah, what else? The lights, windshield wiper work fine. The toggle for the reverse and forward is great. You've got your little computer here. You press this button and it switches from liters per hour on the dash to percent before a regen cycle, and then your PTO, and then back to the hour meter. So all in all, I would say that it's a great tractor, and if I had to get it again, I would be fine getting the same tractor. See if I'm forgetting anything else. I can try and open the hood. One annoying thing is the way they made this hood latch is probably, I don't know if they're trying to protect from people getting into it or what, but they didn't need to make this mechanism so complicated. Under the hood, it's pretty packed. A lot of it is the DPF system, and then you have your filters, your screens, your radiator, your air filter. This battery that it comes with has been really great. I've never disconnected it, I've never taken it off, and I pretty much leave it for 3.5 months during the winter without a single start. Springtime comes, it starts up no problem. I suspect that's not going to last too long that way, but it's been, I guess, 4 years, and I haven't had a problem with the battery, so that's nice that they put such a good battery in there. And replacing the fuel filter gets quite rusty. This tractor is not kept inside, it's kept outside in the elements, so there's a lot of rust that develops on the filter, but I suspect this is probably not metal, so maybe it's not too big a deal. The fuel tank is plenty big to give you a day's worth of running, perhaps even more. Especially myself, I don't usually more than 8 hours, maybe 9 hours at the max, and I'm done for the day. There's, however, if you look underneath the tractor, there are some things that kind of stick out, and you kind of worry that if you're going through thick brush, you can grab these things on a stick and rip them off. Even this thing has kind of come off. So there are elements underneath the tractor that wouldn't hurt if they were hidden off, or they were enclosed in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, changing the oil, you actually have 2 nozzles on either side. Yeah, I would say that's generally my thoughts. Very happy with it, and I'd recommend it to anyone that's that's looking for a tractor around 90, 100 horsepower, 110 even. Could I use more horsepower? Yeah. Is it sufficient? Yeah. If I'm going uphill, I can't go into the 6th and final gear. It's going to start bogging down. Maybe anything over 6 or 7% incline. So in the way it's a little underpowered, but because I don't have to do any large scale tillage, meaning everything is like 2 and a bit metered width, it's no problem for me. The tires are closed in to 190 centimeters, so that gives me a good range to go down the roads without creating too much damage. I've taken off the front fenders. I've got the back fenders just as a protection, and yeah, hopefully that wasn't too long, and hopefully it was of some use to you guys. Have a nice day.